Hello, little children. It is Mr. Moorhead. I hope you had a great weekend. This week, we've got some special World War II stuff on tap. And today, we're going to be looking at the Battle of Britain. There are a few things that I need to clean up to begin with. I should have downloaded this video, which there is another copy. I got it out of order with the Pearl Harbor video. And I kind of had to, I covered Pearl Harbor, and when you cover Pearl Harbor, you need to cover Midway as well. So I just kind of went with it. So I need to back up and get the Battle of Britain. We are talking, I don't know, 12, 13 months between them, but this is chronologically the thing I should have covered next, and I just downloaded the video in the wrong order. So we went on to Pearl Harbor and kind of skipped this. I need to go back and get it. So to clean up my mess just a little bit, I want to chronologically look at what's happened during the war to this point. So if we are being technical, World War II starts in Asia first. We have the invasion of Manchuria and China by the Japanese. Then we see the invasion of Poland by the Nazis. Remember, we had the annexation of Austria and the annexation of Sudetenland. And then Hitler wants this Polish corridor to connect the two pieces of Germany together. The next thing was a surprise move by the Nazis. He doesn't go to France, he goes north. He takes the Nordic countries. Now France is poised and waiting. They are behind the Maginot Line. And Hitler invades through those tiny countries. Excuse me, those tiny countries to the north of France and various other places, essentially bypassing the Maginot Line. Did not do much good. Next is what we're covering today. That's the Battle of Britain. So chronologically, what we're covering today happened after the Nazis were successful invading France. What we're going to cover later this week, and it spans a long period of time, so I generally cover Pearl Harbor and all that stuff first. At any rate, what we cover this week shall be the Battle of Britain today and Operation Barbarossa later on. Now we have the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I've got a typo there. I see it. I'm so sorry. Can't fix it once I start these videos. And when there's the bombing of Pearl Harbor, the U.S. is going to enter World War II. They do so on behalf of the Allies. When the United States declares war on Japan, Germany declares war on the United States. And then finally, we have the Battle of Midway, which we have already covered. Now, to touch on that Battle of Midway, the reason why that is significant, I showed you that video of aircraft carriers. The Japanese lose their aircraft carriers in this battle. So remember, I believe we have 4 aircraft carriers. Now, depending on what you read, 3 are sunk in the battle. 1 is so damaged, it's abandoned later on. So ultimately, you have 4 aircraft carriers destroyed. And this really prevents the Japanese from launching an offensive war. If you don't understand what that means, the Japanese can only go on defense now. In other words, they're retreating. So this early point of 1942, the Japanese are effectively defeated. But you're going to see that they continue to fight on, and they continue to fight at the latest point of World War II, and we'll talk more about that later. So what we're going to do, if you look at my mouse, we're going to go back and get this Battle of Britain, and then later this week we are talking about Operation Barbarossa. All right, friends, let's talk about the Battle of Britain. One of the things I enjoy about history are firsts, okay? And a lot of times you'll have videos on firsts or like largest or smallest, like the largest battle in history, the first explorer to touch down on the moon, the first this, the first that. Those are popular historical subjects. Well, the Battle of Britain is a pretty big first. So let's take a look at it. By the time France has been conquered, it's essentially the British. They're all that's left fighting the Nazis. If the Nazis knock out the British, World War II's done. It's over. They've won it. And they've done this faster than all of World War One. So if we're looking at this point, the year is 1940. Remember, we're going back just a little bit. All that's left fighting the Nazis are the British. We have the British former colonies like Canada, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, and a few of the people that have made it out of Poland and have made it out of other countries that have been invaded by the Nazis. That's it. That is all that's left. Now, the big strength of Great Britain, and you will see this in history, the same way with Japan. If you see an island country, more than likely their most dominant branch of the military is going to be the Navy. It's just been that way for most all of history. And that's true in World War II. Now, the Germans do not want to engage the British Navy. The Germans have a formidable Navy, but it's generally in the form of submarines. They do not want to engage the British Navy. And at this point with technology, they probably don't have to. They're going to attempt to do something that's never been done in history. The Battle of Britain is so unique that I can sum it up with a story that I saw on the news. And I have hunted and hunted for this story. It was an interview, and I've never been able to find it since then. But there was a terrorist attack in Great Britain a few years ago. If you've ever seen those red, like 2-story buses, a terrorist had placed a bomb and a backpack on there, and it ripped one of those buses apart. It killed a lot of people on the bus and killed people near the bus. And a reporter had got there with a camera, and people are running everywhere. And there's this little old lady just calmly walking. And the reporter interviews her and says, "Ma'am, are you scared? Can you tell us what happened?" And she says very calmly, "I am not scared. I survived the Battle of Britain." This lady was in World War II, and she survived the Battle of Britain. What she is talking about is that the Battle of Britain is the first war in history that's fought entirely from the air. The Nazis are going to continue to bomb and bomb and bomb and bomb and bomb month after month after month. About 3 months, they bomb the British because they think one of two things are going to happen. The British say, "We don't want to fight anymore." That's like the worst thing that could happen in the Nazis' eyes. Or the British say, we surrender. You win, you take us over. That's the best thing the Nazis saw that could happen. So what this lady in the interview is simply saying is she was used to getting bombed every single night, not a terrorist bomb in a bus, but from massive bombing airplanes. So far more extensive than what this terrorist had done at that moment. And she's saying, "Hey, I survived that. This doesn't scare me." That's just how bad Great Britain was bombed. Okay, so I've covered some of these things. Again, the Nazis are going to attempt to defeat the British just using air power. We talk about first and largest. This is the first battle in history that people attempt to decide entirely from the air. It's also the largest aerial battle in history. And you could generally make a very strong argument that it's the longest aerial battle. So it kind of holds 3 records for the first aerial battle, the longest aerial battle, and of course the largest. So the Nazis continue to bomb, and remember, we talked about the range of war has changed. They are bombing Great Britain from north to south. They are bombing every single thing in this country, just multiple targets that spans the entire country. So there's just not one city focused on, it's everywhere. And the Nazis continue to do this. The British do 2 things to fight back. One, they are fighting Nazi airplanes in dogfights. Remember, we talked about that from World War I. They are fighting plane to plane, and they're having success with this, okay? The losses are just about even in terms of airplanes. If we're talking about pilots and airmen killed, the Germans are losing more because the planes they are sending holds more airmen. Like a bomber is going to have more people on it than a fighter. So nonetheless, the losses of airplanes are about the same. However, on the ground, the British are not giving up. They oftentimes are going below ground. You had several days where people lived in subways or lived in the cellars, or I've even seen like makeshift bomb shelters made in people's yards. They are not giving up. We kind of get a saying from this, and I'm sure you've seen the posters. Some of your parents may have one, and they have no idea that it comes from World War II. It's this poster that says, keep calm and carry on. That was the British saying during this battle, meaning, hey, just go about your life as normal, even though things look awful and there's going to be bombings tonight. Just go about your life as normal as humanly possible. That's what the British do. And after 3 months and significant losses, the Nazis call the attack off. Now, if you had to film what Great Britain looked like and what Nazi Germany looked like, think of it as two fighters. The British are bloodied, a black eye, maybe their head's cut open, and this other fighter looks fine. But the way that we decide who wins a battle is not by who looks the worst, not by how many people die. It's decided by an objective. The German objective was to do one of two things: get the British to cease fire, saying we don't want to fight anymore, or to get them to surrender. The British do not do either. They survive the battle. That's the British objective. They don't have to beat the Nazis. They just have to not give up. And they were successful at doing that. So this battle is won by the British, and it's really the first major loss handed to the Nazis. All right, so the Battle of Britain. The Germans try to take over Great Britain from the air, or at least try to get them to give up, and they are unsuccessful. First major loss in World War II for the Nazis. All right, guys, I appreciate you listening. I'm going to put one more small film up. Also, hopefully earlier tomorrow, I'm going to have some work based on the Battle of Britain posted for you for Tuesday. I hope you guys enjoyed the lesson. I should be getting that feedback to you on Pearl Harbor that you wrote. Remember, you will get an email that says score released. When you open it, it will say 0-0. I've had several kids email me, Mr. Moorhead, my score says 0-0. They will all say 0-0 because I don't give points on these. I'm just giving you feedback. If you hit view score, it will show you at the bottom of the page. Once you click view score, it'll show you what you wrote, and it'll show my comment at the bottom. I still have several people that they cut and pasted something from Google, or they gave me an answer that apparently they didn't watch the video. They just gave me a random answer, and those people need to resubmit those assignments. So please look and make sure that you do that. That's the expectation. All right, guys. Again, I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and look for some more stuff, hopefully posted early tomorrow on the Battle of Britain. Take care.